Good morning, everyone. This is the event that is called the role of molecular machines, and I just realized that the alphabetical order of introducing our guests today, this morning, would be an excellent one. So our distinguished guest is Ben Feringa, Nobel laureate in 2016. Then, very close to me is Professor András Perccel, who is the chair of the chemistry section of the Hungarian Academy of Sciences. And on my far left is Professor Péter Szalai, who is the president of the Hungarian Chemical Society. So first, I'm asking András to give a small introduction to today's meeting.
It is my greatest pleasure welcoming Professor Bernard Lucas Feringa among us. He is an outstanding chemist with research focus on organic chemistry and molecular nanotechnology. He was the first to develop molecular motors, and for this and other discoveries, he was awarded the Nobel Prize in Chemistry in 2016, together with Jean-Pierre Sauvage and Sir Fraser Stoddart, for the design and the synthesis of molecular machines. Ben Feringa was an undergraduate and a graduate student at the University of Groningen in the Netherlands, where he received his PhD in 1978. From 78 to 84, he was a research chemist at the Royal Dutch Shell Laboratories in Amsterdam, where he worked in the field of organic synthesis, oxidization, and photochemistry. Between 84 and 88, he was a lecturer, and since 88, he has been appointed as a professor and a chair of organic chemistry at the University of Groningen. Since 2003, he is the Jacobus H. van 't Hoff Distinguished Professor of Molecular Sciences. He has many academic and professional responsibilities and roles in scientific societies and committees, but rather than list them all, I'd like to highlight some of his important professional achievements. It won't take too long, although the list is very long. He synthesized the first photoreactive nanotube that can open up and release its interior with heat by light. They engineered a light-sensitive photoreactive pore and vesicles that could be opened once again by light. They also designed an antibiotics that can be turned on and off against by using the right wavelengths. Imagine the potential of a technology that could allow us to activate bioactive drugs and medicines with light. How wonderful would it be to eliminate all unwanted side effects by switching to such an advanced technology. But perhaps the most important things they discovered was molecular motors. In fact, they managed to solve similarly complex problem and discovered how to make unidirectional rotating molecular fragments. Using rotating wheels, they managed to construct the first nanoscale car, the first four-wheeled, light-consuming molecular motor. They showed how to convert rotational motion into translational motion. They improved these molecular frameworks from a single rotation per hour to a system that rotates 1,000 cycles per second. It is a wonderful opportunity for us to ask questions of a scientist who made such outstanding discoveries, who is a dedicated researcher of basic sciences, who is an excellent teacher and a lecturer. Professor Feringa, it's a pleasure to have you with us. Thank you for coming.
Okay, so now I will explain what will happen in the next 60 minutes, or maybe 55 now. First 25-30 minutes I will be spending with a conversation with Professor Feringa. Then I will open up the floor to questions from everyone else in the audience. With this one we have two microphones, so I'm asking you to grab the other one, and there's a switch on it. Yeah, that's it. So I'm really delighted to meet you. And the first question I would like to ask is that in your biography I read that you were born a few years after World War II, so that would put you as a baby boomer. And you were raised on a farm on the German border of Netherlands.
That's correct.
What attracts a farm boy to science and especially to chemistry?
Now, thank you for that question, because that goes back to my youth. I was born in the 50s, indeed, on a farm in a very small village in a remote northeastern part of the Netherlands. All my ancestors came from the German border region, and our farm was 800 meters from the border, so outside the village. And you have to realize that when you grow up at a farm at those days, I was asking questions to my parents, especially my father, because I spent a lot of time as a boy with my father in the fields, asking about why is the sky blue? Why is this plant growing? Why is this tiny seed giving a sunflower 4 meters high with this beautiful flower, you know? How is it that a cow gives birth to a calf? So we had cows, pigs, horses, chicken, all these things. I think that those days on these farms in the country area, we were almost fully self-supporting, you know. I remember I helped my mother in the garden, you know. We had a big vegetable garden, and she was growing all the vegetables, everything for our family for the whole year, yeah. And I grew up as the second oldest of a family of 10. I have 9 brothers and sisters. I have 6 younger sisters. And I'm from a Roman Catholic family in this border region, you know. And honestly, this is where it all started. I think this spark of wanting to know, wanting to learn, adventurers, yeah. And we crossed the German border. That was at that time still, you know, that was before the EU, that was still illegal because there were guards at those days in the 50s still. But yeah, when we were in the fields with my father, you know, we crossed the border because there was wilderness, and that was for kids like us, was fantastic, of course, you know. And my father, you know, when then one of these guards, you know, sometimes once every couple of hours they patrolled there. Then my father said, do you like to have a cigarette, you know? So he gave a cigarette to them, we were smoking, and then we crossed illegal. So it was an adventure. And it was wonderful, and this is where it all started. And of course, we had in the church and in the school, we had books, you know, in the village. So I was reading books about adventurers, discoverers, etc. And my father and mother were in school. I think they were very good, but they never had the chance to study. And you realize, my friends and we were the first in the village that went to a university. I think nobody in the village ever went to a university. So that was already something special, you know. But it started mainly in high school. I want to emphasize this, because when I went from elementary school to high school, for the first time, I had teachers that were teaching chemistry, physics, mathematics, and for me it opened up a new world. It was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it's really nice. I would like to ask the question, as far as I can count, around the time of lunar landing, you must have been 18. Did you watch the lunar landing?
I went out of bed and was watching it on television at, I think it was 5:45 in the morning or so here. And yes, I went out and I saw it, yeah, and I saw also Amsterdam on television, you know. A small step for me, a big step for mankind. So I was so eager to learn. Yeah, I was in high school at that time. Yeah, in school, in gymnasium. And I wanted to see that. I still remember that very well. There are 2 events that I still remember where I went out of bed and where I remember vividly. The first step on the moon, yeah, and the fall down of the wall in Berlin. These were 2 very precious moments in my life that I would not have missed.
Okay, probably also remember the day when you accepted the Nobel Prize.
Oh, yeah.
And my question is that the Nobel Prize Committee gives out two different summaries of the achievements of the Nobel Prize winners, one for the general public, one for more professional public. And were you happy with that summary? Because I understand you had no role in writing it.
No. Yeah, no. I think they did a good job. So they wrote down, about the discovery of molecular machines, and how important it was, and of course the first molecular motor, and so. So in general, I was happy with that, how they advocated and etc. But that does not mean that everybody understands the importance immediately. So I get often these questions, why do we need molecular machines? Yeah? Why?
So why do we need molecular machines?
I tell you, the same question was asked to the Wright brothers more than 100 years ago. The Wright brothers, you remember, the American guys who were flying for the first time. And you know what the people were asking? Why do we need to fly? If God wanted us to fly, He would have given us wings like a bird. Nobody would have predicted, that you fly to America now with a Boeing, or an Airbus, 400 people, 1,000 kilometers an hour, 10,000 miles across the ocean. Try to do that with a bird, So this is one of the highlights. I'm at an engineering school. If you want to show one highlight of humanity, it is flying, a flying machine. 3.5 million parts, all artificial. Material science, chemist, physics, computer scientists, and a lot of engineering that make it possible that we can fly with a Boeing, or that we can fly to the moon. Isn't it fantastic? This is what we should not forget. And at those days, people had no idea 100 years ago that we would have this kind of flying machines, So this is also what we should advocate in universities, the role of science, to advance our knowledge and maybe bring prospects for the future that we have no idea about it. I can give you many other examples, but I often get this question, why do we need this, etc. And the same holds for nanotechnology. But let me tell you, if people ask me, motion, all right, everything you see here around you, is built of molecules and atoms, no? Everything, including your own body. But all the synthetic things we make, like our plastics, like this, this, nothing moves, But you are alive, you move, And when I stand up and I walk and I wave to you, and I can see you, all these things are powered by molecular machines in your body, The fuel is made in your body. The fact that you can move your muscles, that I can see you. So we are extremely good in making all kinds of things that makes modern society. But to make things that move autonomously, like in a living system, and to push a thing out of equilibrium, I cannot emphasize that enough. That is the next step. To make things that can adapt, that can sense, that can reconfigure, that can, when I cut my finger, as I did a few weeks ago, you see it's repaired now, I didn't have to do anything, just keep it clean. It repairs itself. But now try to cut a piece of plastic, it doesn't repair itself. Or a scratch in your car. But this is what we will get. Once you have dynamic systems, your car scratch will repair itself. Because a capsule will go open, things will go out, it will repair itself. A piece of plastic. We have now a piece of plastic that you can cut, you can put it together, and 10 minutes later it's completely repaired. This is the future,
I also suspect that this kind of question was asked to you early in your career and probably by anonymous peer reviewers as well. What was your answer then?
This is always an issue, when you work on fundamental problems, and then they ask you, what is the application? You have to be a bit persistent, and this is important for students, Don't give up too easy, Of course, sometimes you have to say, okay, my idea was wrong, it does not work, I tried many things. But on the other hand, if you have a good idea and you believe in it, Yeah, maybe the first time it will not work. Maybe the second time it will not work. You know how difficult it is to do experiments in the lab. And then we have our friends in theory and they help us to calculate, but that does not guarantee that it will work, of course. Eh? That is an explanation often. But you should not give up too easy. Be convinced, you know, if you have good ideas, to go for it. And let me take an example of maybe one of your most famous country persons, you know, Kathleen Garrigou. I discussed this with her, you know, this is a lady, you know, this is a role model for many of us. The difficulties she had, etc., etc. And it's amazing to hear her story. She had this idea about this mRNA, you know, when she was in America, and nobody believed them in the beginning. And so she didn't even got a permanent position at the university. And then, but she knew this was something important. But she was too early, you know. Sometimes the ideas are too fresh or too early and people don't believe it. So then, of course, she went to industry, she continued. Yeah, and then suddenly after 10 years, industry picked it up and they realized how important it was. And now 40 years later, yeah, within 1 year we could make a COVID vaccine. Otherwise it would not have been possible. It is thanks to her persistence, yeah, to the belief in it, the dreams she had, yeah, and the long journey. And this is what is science also about. Don't give up too easy. And so he is a role model for us, you know, and also to show us what to do, even if your colleagues say, it might not work. Don't misunderstand. It's always wise to listen to your colleagues, because they might have good suggestions or they will be critical. Critical questions is the most important, you know, at universities, that we ask questions and if we challenge each other, you know. If he tells me some chemistries, yeah, and I ask him and say, oh, this is all fantastic, he benefits if I ask a critical question and say, oh, did you thought about this, or could it be this or that? Because then we advance science, and the same holds for me, of course, if he asks me critical questions. So I'm a strong believer in that, and don't give up too easy. And universities, in my opinion, yeah, should have the freedom to explore. Don't forget that. We should give our researchers freedom to explore. Yeah? Sometimes it's important to have a clear goal, otherwise you will not get money for your research. But also, yeah, we should have a certain amount of freedom. That's important. Sorry to go on too long.
Did you meet Professor Garrigou?
Yeah, I met Professor Kathleen Garrigou when she got the Solvay Award. So just before the Nobel Prize, she got the Solvay Prize, which is a very prestigious prize in Brussels. And she gave a fantastic lecture. I was so impressed, you know. So I met her a couple of times. But also, I met her daughter.
An Olympic champion.
I was sitting at dinner in the evening next to her. And she is a tall, blonde, muscular lady. Yeah? She looks like these Frisian girls, you know, where in the north of Holland, where I live, you know. They are tall and, you know, strong girls. Don't fight with them. I asked her and I said, look, your mother is doing pretty well. She gets every medal, you know, that you can get. Oh, yes, my mother is doing okay. And I said, what about you? Oh yeah, I got 2 gold medals at 2 successive Olympics. She was in the American rowing team, you remember? And now I understand, you know, why she is such a strong lady, you know. 2 gold medals. So this is great, eh? Your mother gets a Nobel Prize and your daughter has 2 gold medals at the Olympics.
Yeah, that's
not bad.
Proud husband.
proud husband, yeah, for sure.
Okay. Further distinction of Nobel Prize winners is that they attend the Lindau meetings.
Oh yeah.
And with a quick show of hands, I would like to ask the audience, how many of you know what the Lindau meeting is?
Good.
Not very many, so I'm asking you to introduce the concept then.
Yeah. This Lindau, I've been there a couple of times. And this is absolutely fantastic, because what happens is the Lindau meeting is organized by the countess, yeah, at the Lindau Castle, which is a niece of the Swedish king. Yeah? And they do it together with the Nobel Foundation, and they invite 500 or 600, mostly PhD students, but also some master students and postdocs, young people in that age category, from every country in the world in principle. And they are selected by the academies of science and so, or by the natural societies. And I don't know about Hungary, but from Holland I think there are 6 or 8 that are selected from different areas, and they can go to the Lindau meeting. And they spend a whole week there with about 60 Nobel laureates, And you have to give a presentation then, and you have individual, like we do here, discussions with the students and so. You have all kinds of meetings. And the idea is to have close contact with all these young talents from all over the world. And it's absolutely amazing. I always get away there with a lot of new energy, because they ask you a lot of questions, you have discussions, and these are it's very inspirational. And of course we have also cultural events, etc. But you spend several days there with all these young talents from all over the world, and they meet each other, you know, they make friends for the rest of their life, and it's an amazing event. Yeah.
So I understand it's about chemistry every third year?
Yeah, so they have medicine, they have physics and chemistry, and then they have a year where they mix different disciplines. So I will go, not this year because it's medicine, I think, but next year I will go because it's chemistry again.
So you have been there several times?
Yeah, I've been in chemistry and physics meetings and so, and one of these mixed meetings. I think I've been there 4 times now.
I see. Now I would like to ask a question about another kind of role of you. I happen to know that you are the chair of the editorial board of the journal Chemistry World, which is supposed to be a news magazine or something like that. I'm especially interested in this because the first idea when this interview came up was for the Hungarian Chemical Journal. So this will be printed, what we talk about will be printed in the Hungarian Chemical Journal in Hungary.
Oh yeah? Oh,
yeah.
I didn't know that.
So I would like to ask, how did you get to chair that editorial board?
No, I was involved in the Royal Society of Chemistry for many years. I was member for, I think, 6 or 7 years of the council, maybe 8 years, of the council of the Royal Society of Chemistry in England. But I was also asked to be the chief editor, or at that time, or the chairman of the editorial board of Chemistry World, because they wanted to start this journal like Chemical Engineering News. You know, Chemical Engineering News is the American Chemical Society with all the highlights from science, from industry, from society, teaching. And they wanted to start something like that. And at that time, several years ago, they started Chemistry World. And this was absolutely fantastic, you know. They had a very good team, you know, of journalists, editors, etc. And of course, a couple of times a year we came together and to talk about these things. But I was also the person that started Organic and Biomolecular Chemistry, the journal. And that was tough. Because, you know, what we did is we stopped with the Perkin 1 and Perkin 2. And the older people here still remember Perkin. And that was a bit of a fight with the community, because some of the very senior British colleagues, they were so dedicated to Perkin Journal, and the Perkin Journal of Physical Chemistry, you know, that they said, you cannot do this. How can you stop with a journal, you know, like we have been had for 100 years. But, you know, the policy of Royal Society was that they wanted to have some new, more bio in there, chemical biology, cell biology, those kind of things, more synthesis. And then they asked me, and they said, maybe as a foreigner you can convince the British colleagues to merge those journals and make news journals. So this is how it all started. It was a bit of an adventure, yeah. But it was also nice, and especially Chemistry World, because I think it is extremely important that we scientists advocate why science is important, you know? So don't underestimate that. We are very proud that we are scientists and we publish beautiful papers, etc. And then we go to the politics or I'm not involved in politics, by the way, don't misunderstand me. But we go to the public, to the politics, etc. And then they say, chemistry. Why do we need chemistry? Or physics, you know? This is about nuclear, it's dangerous. And many of these kind of comments, you know, because we have to blame ourselves as well. We are not good enough to advocate the importance of education, of science, of facts versus fiction. Let me emphasize this. Thanks for the question. We have to popularize also chemistry. We don't have to give all the difficult things, but tell them, you know, a smartphone is chemistry. Yeah, and a drug is chemistry, and an electric car, a battery, is chemistry, physics, material science, engineering, a lot of engineering. We have to cooperate together. If we don't bring the message, how can you expect that the politics know? Or the general public. So we have to make a strong case, and I challenge every student not only to do fantastic science and get beautiful papers and all these things, but also go out and tell the public, if possible, what the importance of education is, what the importance of science is, why we do this, and why sometimes it needs 30, 40 years. Yeah? And let me tell you what I did, because I got the similar questions, not about chemistry world, but about outreach. Popular. When I was in Stockholm, the journalist on the television asked you, Dr. Feringa, you are going to retire now, because you have now a gold medal in Stockholm. Are you going to retire? I said, uh-oh, guys, I'm a scientist, and this is my passion. It's like a music, that you play a violin here in the theater, yeah? Or in the music hall. You cannot stop, yeah? I said, I have a research group, we have a lot of ideas, I own it to my students to continue. I also teach, next week I will teach. But I said, what I want to do is, I want to do outreach, to go to the public, to tell them why science is so important, why we do these things at universities. So after Stockholm, I started a foundation. Yeah, under the umbrella of the university, and every 6 weeks we go to schools, elementary school and high school. I give them, we have a discussion with the kids, yeah, for an hour, 1.5 hours, yeah, because we send them, we send them some questions, they can ask questions, they exercise in the classroom, and then I always bring eight or so master student and PhD students. And then after this discussion, we do in all the classrooms, we do experiments with them. So can you imagine 5, 6-year-old kids up to 12, yeah, experiments in the classroom. It's unbelievable how exciting these kids are. When they see suddenly, recently last month I was in the school, elementary, in the afternoon we go to a high school, to a gymnasium. And we do the same thing, yeah? And then you have, of course, the experiments are a bit different, because with 6-year-old, 7-year-old kids you have to do things a bit different than with 15, 16, 17-year-olds. But I was in a classroom a month ago with these small kids, a group of 3 girls, and they were doing an experiment, and there were some boys doing also a similar experiment, and they said, Professor, look, we get a blue color, and they get a red color. And I said, you did it right, because these boys were just throwing in something, it was too acidic, and they got a red color, instead of the girls did it very precise, and they got a beautiful blue color. I said, you are my heroes. It's fantastic to discuss with these kids, But you get also beautiful questions then, You know what the question I got? The 6-year-old girl said to me, Professor, can I ask a question? Yes. These nano cars of you, yeah? Do they have also traffic jams? And you get beautiful discussion. So this is what I also do. Yeah, so I go to general public, give lectures, but also to schools, because I think we should start at the schools. Teach your children well. That's my message.
Thank you. Well, in the meantime, we have a gift for you.
Oh.
Last issue of the journal.
Oh, wow.
Okay, because we felt that your library may be very short on Hungarian journals.
I'm sure, yeah. Okay, fantastic.
So this is the
chief editor of this.
Okay.
And the last question.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
The last question I would like to ask you before giving an opportunity to those present to ask you is that, as far as I know, there was a very unlikely source where your Nobel Prize was predicted 6 years ahead. Oh. So it was on the TV show Simpsons.
Oh yeah.
Do you watch it or how?
I often get this question, Did you know you would get a Nobel Prize? Okay, now I will tell you, this is a really interesting. When this summer is the students ask me, people ask me. And this summer is Olympics in Paris, yeah? How to win a gold medal at the Olympics. Now, if you dream about a gold medal all the time, you waste your time, You will never win a gold medal. What these athletes do, they get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, they train hard, damned hard, and when they are a bit lucky and they are in a competition, they maybe might get a medal. I was involved in chemistry. I was doing my science, I was teaching, doing research, sharing the passion with my students. But, of course, teaching, all these things. But of course, sometimes you hear people say in the field, oh, there might be a Nobel Prize, Think about CRISPR-Cas, yeah, or Catalin Carrico. People said, look, this might get maybe a Nobel Prize. But I was not thinking about that until on a Wednesday evening, 9:15, I will never forget, I got a call from a colleague at the University of Illinois in America. And he said, Ben, you were on American television last night. I said, come on, this is a joke. Why should I be on the American television? I'm a professor at the University of Groningen in the north of Holland. He said, yes, you were last night, prime time, American television in The Simpsons. And The Simpsons, that was the week before the announcement of the Nobel Prize. That was last week of September. And they had a prediction of the Nobel Prize in medicine, in physics, in chemistry, in economics. And they predicted, Mörner from Stanford, Feringa, Sonakashira. Mörner got the Nobel Prize in 2014. This was 2011, 2011. Mörner got Nobel Prize in 2014. I got it 2 years later. So the Simpsons were right. The next morning I came to the lab and students came to me from my group, Professor, you will get a Nobel Prize, because they had seen it on Twitter or God knows what. You will get a Nobel Prize, yes, predicted by the Simpsons. I said, look guys, if as a simple chemist, a scientist or an engineer, you get on primetime American television, predicted to get a Nobel Prize by the Simpsons, this is the highest honor you can get. I don't need a gold.
Okay, now I would like to give the opportunity to the audience to ask questions. The rules are, please raise your hand if you have a question. I already see a raised hand over there. And please, when you wait for the microphone, and when you have the microphone, please first introduce yourself, say your name and say the name of your institution.
Hello, my name is Patrick Pelagi. I'm from the University of Toronto. I've been to the Lindo meetings in 2019, actually, and it's a great place, so I recommend everyone apply and go there. And my question is, what is the latest and greatest that inspires you?
With respect to science, you mean? Okay. Yeah, there are lots of things that inspire me, but one of the latest things, we did is, what I got a lot of inspiration from, is that we put our motors in cell membranes. And then we hit it with light, the cell membrane changes its packing due to the motion of the motor, and we could deliver a cancer drug into a tumor. So delivering, making, this membrane a little bit more porous, and we could deliver a cancer. We could kill a cancer cell. And so this is what I do a lot now, working with cell biologists, medical people, etc. We have joined PhD students now with the medical school. And so we work a lot on this smart drugs, smart pharmaceuticals, photopharmacology, etc. And so I get a lot of inspiration from that. But I also have to learn again, because I have to learn a lot of cell biology now to talk with them, to be able to understand them. Yeah, because they have a different language.
Okay. Next question is from here. Yeah. Please wait for the microphone.
My name is Milat, I am from Technical University Bratislava.
You are not a student anymore, are you?
I am finished. For colleagues from Pozsony. Excuse me, I think that the simplest questions are the hardest. Could you tell us one thing which is not connected with chemistry?
One thing which is not
connected with chemistry? Connected.
Oh, connected. Oh, wow. That's a tough one. I cannot easily think about that, yeah. Maybe what has to do with your thoughts and so, but on the other hand, it's all the processes in the brain. It's chemistry and physics, physical chemistry processes. So I would say everything I see is chemistry, yes. your body is full of molecules, of course, and all these chemical processes, you know, and it was just asked by the student there about what intrigues me. What intrigues me a lot is how this chemistry, all these molecules communicate with each other. I don't know about you in your laboratories, you know, and I know there are many engineers here, and one of the problems in engineering is, of course, when you have a reactor and you have a very concentrated solution and you have to react these components to make them react, to make them homogeneous, transport phenomena, all these kind of things, interface phenomena. Think of your cells. It's unbelievable in your brain, in your cells, how all these molecules communicate. And these are not small molecules, eh? These are these big proteins, the DNA and all these things. And this whole machinery operates and works. And the communication between all these things, feedback loops, keeping this all going is something that intrigues me a lot. And I think chemistry, going from simple molecules to more complex systems where things integrate, where they work together, the dynamics, you know, motion, it is something we have to learn much more in the years ahead. And I think we can learn a lot from engineers because they have to deal with complex systems all the time, eh? Solvents, reactors, temperatures, flow, all these things. So I think we can learn a lot when we talk with our colleagues there and so. But honestly, to come back to your question, what has not to do with chemistries? Yeah, you can say love, but you know it has a lot to do with chemistry because it's all the hormones and so. Communication, it has a lot to do with chemistry. When I can speak taste, feeling, all these things, yeah. So it's difficult to find an answer, but maybe you have a suggestion. I don't know. I don't know. It's all chemistry. There's a good reason that chemistry is called the central science.
Thank you. Next question. Here.
Okay, so again, somebody from the boomer generation. So, but you know, we always try to we supervise many of our students, and we try to warn them that there will be and there might be unbelievable changes, leaps in technology, and then we try to say examples from our own lives that what was for us something like that. So, in your life, what was the most unexpected change in technology?
No, I don't know, there were many unexpected changes in technology, but one, let me give you an example. You see, can I borrow this for a second?
Of course.
Look at this, eh? Who has no smartphone here? Nobody? There's one person who has no smartphone. That's amazing. This is a very, very, very special species. Yeah? They are almost extinct. People that have no smartphone. Now, why do I show this? Because I have several students that cannot believe that there was a world before the smartphone. Yes, there was a world before the smartphone. Do you remember? The old telephone? And of course, the smartphone is among us only 17 years, eh? And it completely changed the world. The world, the way we communicate with each other, you know, eh? The way we do things, how we get our information, all these things. And it changed the world in many aspects. So I think if you ask me spontaneously, you know, something that, technology that changed the world, yeah, it's a smartphone. And believe me, in 30 years from now, our grandchildren, they will say, what was this for old-fashioned technology? Recently, I was at with a group of students and school kids, and I asked, do you know what a compact disc is? I showed a compact disc, and they had no idea what a compact disc was. When I was a student, we had this records, you remember? And then we got compact disc, and we were so excited because we got this small, nice compact disc for music, yeah? That was the most advanced technology. Now, several youngsters don't even know what a compact disc is, because we have this tech. So don't believe that this will be the ultimate technology. Things are going to change. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. Next question. Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. I'm András Tóth from the Hungarian science news site Kubit. With the growing threat of antibiotic resistance, I'm interested in how is the development of photoactivated antibiotics is going, and what do you see as the biggest challenge in getting it to market? Thank you.
Yeah, now there is now, since we worked on these antibiotics, we introduced this concept of photopharmacology 10 years ago, together with Dick Trauner, who is in America now. This whole field has exploded now. You see that everywhere. People try to make activated drugs, you know, precision therapy. And antibiotics is a really interesting target because antibiotic resistance is a serious issue. The World Health Organization called it a ticking time bomb. Why? Because of the resistance, you know, antibiotics. And pharmaceutical companies don't develop many new antibiotics because it has all to do with the business model, you know. We think COVID was the big crisis. Yes, we all faced COVID, you know. Yeah? University was closed, we could not go to the lab or teaching the way we had to do all these things. But antibiotics might be another big thing, you know. And we should not be too afraid, but there is a big incentive to develop new antibiotics and to develop this. And I hope that with these new ways to activate antibiotics, to make smart antibiotics and to fight the resistance, yeah, maybe we can get somewhere. On the other hand, so I'm very optimistic, yes, and we see now the first example. We have made antibiotics that we can use now in animal models and so. Yeah, it might be a long journey towards to go to the patients and so, but there are different ways. There's no one solution, we know that, you know, because there are the cyclic peptides and macrocycles. There's other ways to do antibiotics, but activating on the spot, yeah, and then so that we avoid resistance buildup, all these kind of things. That is certainly one way to go. And we work together with the medical people, you know, especially now we work on bacterial plagues. You know, the biofilms, yeah, that's a serious problem, you know, with antibiotics, because antibiotics usually are not very effective and so, and bacterial resistance. But yeah, where it will exactly go in the future, I don't know either, but we have contacts with pharmaceutical industry. They are interested. We built a startup company, you know, to work with this on these materials. So there is quite a few opportunities there, and several groups in the world are working on this now. So I'm optimistic. We have to find new ways to do that. On the other hand, we also know bacteria survived much longer than human beings, yeah, billions of years, and they are very good in adapting themselves. So this is another coin of the medal, yeah? So it's tough. It's a tough problem, but it's a serious problem. And there are challenges, and we as chemists, together with our friends in biology, in medical, we can get, yeah, some solutions, I'm sure. I'm very optimistic there.
Okay, thank you. Next question.
Thank you. I am from Budapesti University of Technology and Economics. My question is, instead of light driving force,
yeah,
can you see any other driving force which can operate, you know, machines just like pH or redox or heat or other things?
Yeah. We have built chemical propulsion systems. So we have built a rotary motor that is driven by chemical reaction, by catalysis. But unfortunately, after 48 hours, it died. So it was very slow, and there was some side reaction. So we are trying to improve on that to build new ones. We have built a propulsion system, yeah, and with carbon nanotubes that use sugar as a fuel. Because I was discussing with my students, and we said, oh, if we ever want to make something like a submarine that can go in your blood veins, you know, like a propulsion system, a nano-robot, what would be a fuel? And then we said, okay, there's plenty of sugar. Maybe we should use sugar, yeah? And so what we did is we took two enzymes, yeah, glucose oxidase and catalase, and we put them on carbon nanotubes, and the glucose oxidase converts glucose into hydrogen peroxide, and hydrogen peroxide is converted into oxygen, yeah, and you get a kind of rocket motor, and it propels. It works beautiful. Although the directionality is still a bit of a problem, you know, it's a bit like a drunken sailor. But yes, and we built an electromotor, yeah, but we have not a good system yet. We are working on that. I have 2 PhD students and a postdoc working on making an electromotor. The advantage of light, and that's why we put so much effort on light, because it is non-invasive, and you just put a lamp, yeah, you can tune the wavelength, you can tune the energy, and that works all beautiful, you know, and you can use it in cells, you can use it in materials, on surfaces. So light has a lot of advantages, yes. pH will not work because pH is an equilibrium situation. And you have to push the system out of equilibrium. You need a fuel. So light, electricity, or a chemical reaction. Yeah, that's crucial. Yeah. pH you can use for switching, switching from one state to the other. Yeah.
Thank you. We have a question at the back.
Yeah.
Thank you. My name is Martin Bojta. I work at the Research Center for Natural Sciences. We work with the photo cages, actually. And photo cages.
Yeah, yeah.
And my question is, how can you convince the pharmaceutical industry about this whole light thing? Because we have a lot of trouble convincing other people that these light activatable drugs is really something.
We use, you are absolutely right, we use photo cages a lot. So you can do two approaches. You take a drug, you put a photo cage on it, like a protecting group, that you cleave off with light. Then you activate it on the spot. Or you make a switch, so that you can switch it on and off on command. That are the two important approaches. Now, photo cages are, please don't give up, irrespective of what pharma says. Believe in yourself, because I think this will be extremely important. Because you can block it, it doesn't do anything in your body, and you irradiate, and it's on the spot, you activate it. Yes? Of course, it's important that you have the right photo cages, that you don't harm your body when you irradiate. But I think the reality is, I don't know if there's anybody from the pharmaceutical industry here, but pharma is a bit conservative, you know. And I can understand, because they want to make money, you know, they have to make sure that it works, etc. And with all these new smart drugs, it's still a long journey, yeah? It might take another 10, 15, 20 years before we get this really into the clinic, in the market, etc. On the other hand, I'm very positive that with these new methods, we will get the smart medicine of the future. And a couple of weeks ago, I got a telephone call from Dick Trauner in America. And he said, Ben, we are in the clinic. We are in the clinic. That's an important step. So they do now experiments with patients, yes? And we already did experiments with tissue. We did experiments with patients, but that was with tissue of dead patients, you know, just to check. But to go into a patient, you need to go to ethic committees, etc., etc. You know that. It's not so easy to get into the clinic. But I'm very positive, yes. And we will convince the pharmaceutical industry. And you see now that they get more and more interested, in these new methods. It will take a while. But it will come, don't worry.
Okay, thank you. Next question.
Hi, my name is Bálint Hajdú from the University of Szeged, and actually I'm really curious about the building blocks for molecular machines.
Yeah.
Like, I'm curious, what are your opinion? Which building blocks might have bigger perspective in the future, like bio-inspired ones, like DNA origami, or continuing with the fullerene stuff and hydrocarbon modification?
I don't know. I don't use fullerenes, by the way, because they absorb all the light and they are not very good for my work. Fullerenes are very good for solar cells, organic solar cells and so on. I'm a synthetic chemist, and I like to design molecules from scratch, you know, like switches, motors, machines, catalysts. But we also work a lot with biohybrid systems. So as was mentioned by somebody, we put these motors and so into proteins, cell membranes. So we make these hybrid systems. And I think there is a lot of potential, you know. But usually the building blocks we design in the lab, sometimes simply on the blackboard. But my students also do quite a bit of calculation, because if you want to design a new motor, of course in the past 20 years we developed all kinds of experience, what you could do, what is wise, what is not wise to develop and to synthesize. But we do also computer calculations, you know, and to predict, if we want to make a new motor, which is maybe 10-step synthesis or so, calculate first what will be the energy barrier, what will be the wavelength, you know. Could we predict if it would absorb in the blue or in the red, you know, part of the spectrum. Is the energy barrier suitable for what we do? We also have to model if we want to make it water soluble, for instance, for biological applications, that's different than when you put it on a surface or you put it in a polymer. Yeah? So all these parameters you have to think about beforehand when you design your building blocks and you do the synthesis. And of course you cannot always predict. Sometimes you get very strange results. You predict it will be water soluble and it turns out to be completely insoluble. But that is also not normal for science, you know, we know that. And sometimes you find something by accident. You know that. And these are really interesting discoveries. Recently, my Chinese student who finished his PhD now, we published this paper 2 weeks ago in Nature, exactly today, I think, 2 weeks ago in Nature Chemistry. We found that when we introduce an aldehyde group to our motors, we change the excited state energy profile. So changing the sterics is usually not so difficult, or electronics. You put a donor, acceptor, substituent. But to change the electronics excited energy landscape is not easy, I tell you. And we found by accident that when we introduce an aldehyde group, a very simple group, that we boost the performance dramatically. And so we have now a motor that has a quantum yield, so the absorption of the light, more than 80%, better than the visible process in your eye. And the selectivity is 99%. So we try now to understand, doing femtosecond laser spectroscopy, theoretical calculations, to figure out exactly what happened. Because it guides us to the next design, the choice to make the next motors. So sometimes when you get something very unexpected, don't immediately throw it away, Look carefully. And also when you make a mistake, maybe I'm not allowed to say that because the rector is here at the front row, but in universities, when you do research, you should be able also to make mistakes. Don't blow up your lab, That's not what I mean. Because then you have a serious problem. They will throw you out. But sometimes you learn a lot from that you don't know exactly how to do an experiment. And you get something very unexpected. And sometimes these are the most beautiful discoveries. Don't forget that. You cannot rationalize everything, beforehand. I mean, when I talk with my physics colleagues, okay, they know everything, But if you ask them, why does it fall down? They come with the theory of Einstein, of space-time curvature and so. But it's not that easy to explain. Even after Einstein, it's not so easy to explain. Well, try to tell to your mother while it falls down. It's not so easy, So, you see, discoveries, even if you cannot predict precisely, unexpected things, this is what I mean with having the playground at the university, Of course, we have to look at targets and say, look, this is important. We want to make a new antibiotic. Who asked that question? Yes, very important. But also the playground to do unexpected discoveries. Like Katalin Rigo did. Don't forget that.
Thank you. And I think we are close to exhausting our 60-minute session. And it is time to give the opportunity to Péter Szalai to have his closing remarks.
First of all, I thank you, Ben, for your visit, for the inspiring discussion. The Hungarian Chemical Society is proud to be co-organizer of this visit. And this session here fits very well of our mission. Popularizing chemistry. So we organized here in Hungary an alliance, including all players from industry and academia, to have a bigger impact on the knowledge of chemistry. And I would like to invite all of you to participate in this, follow us and help us, beside, of course, enjoying chemistry.
Thank you so much for your words, very stimulating, and also for inviting me here. I'm really honored to be here, at this university, because I know this is a prestigious technical university, engineering school, and you do great chemistries. But also, I hope I gave the message, chemistry is a central science. And we have to reinvent chemistry for the future, to make the sustainable chemistry of the future. How we are going to do our industries, how we are going to go greener, less energy, recycle materials, all these things are so important. So for all the young talents here, all the young stars, you are going to invent the future. Please follow your dreams. Thank you so much.
Okay, I also thank you, and I would like to announce that you can actually follow your dreams and listen to more formal presentation of Professor Feringa in the afternoon at 4:15, not in this building, but at Eötvös Loránd University, at ELTE, at Eötvös Loránd Tudományi Egyetem. So with this one, we thank Professor Feringa. So, and I hope, I mean, some of you will meet him for a lunch. And I hope you will have fruitful discussions during the lunch as well. Thank you.